Please, what is that? Don't tell me. It's all in the Reflexes.
You're listening to All in the Reflexes, an unrepentant vivisection of geek news and culture.
It's all in the Reflexes.
With the comedy rock geek Mikey Mason, the Brack of all trades Jeb Brack, Madison Metricula Roberts, and tech guy Steve.
It's all in the Reflexes.
I know, there's a problem with your face.
Hello and welcome to All in the Reflexes. I'm Jeb Brack.
I'm Madison Metricula Roberts.
And this is Tech Guy Steve.
And before we get to the meat of the show, we do have a couple of announcements of cool things that are going on. Madison, these are all in your neck of the woods. You want to tell us about these?
So we mentioned just briefly before Geek Gala in Charlotte, North Carolina. That is on November 3rd. Is going to be the geekiest Halloween party in the Upper Southeast Regional Circuit. All the benefits of the event go to the Dave Thomas Foundation for Adoption. And y'all, if you're able to make it, you can use the code AITR for $5 off your ticket price. So check out the link in the show notes to buy a ticket. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'll be there. Mikey Mason will be there. The Extraordinary Contraptions. And Valentine Wolf doing some music. Rich Siegfried on MC and Trivia. A geeky talent contest, as well as a vendor hall and a campfire sing-along, gaming night. It's just a lot of geeky fun. And this is near and dear to my heart. I'm going straight to the middle, y'all. I am opening for Mikey Mason here in Raleigh, North Carolina on October 20th. It is a full night of geeky music, geek rock, and sing-alongs, and it is at the Maywood Bar here, or Maywood venue here in Raleigh, North Carolina. And that is a brown coat run metal bar with bizarrely clean bathrooms. Like, those bathrooms are so clean. Like, every time I go in, I'm just it's just high quality, brightly lit, just
You might even say they're shiny.
Oh man, I walked
shiny.
Into that, so
brown coats, shiny. See
so
what I did there?
those are some of the highlights of stuff going on in the next month or so.
Awesomeness! All right, people, try and get out to those things. So, do you guys see Crazy Rich Asians by any chance?
I did. I loved it.
Yep. I actually went and saw it a second time in the theaters. And having done so, and having had some questions about the plot lines and things like that, I went and actually read the book.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah, I know. The movie's better, people. I know I'm going to go to hell for saying so, but I really like the movie. And the book was okay, but that wasn't really my style. And so, I don't know. See them both, but I looked it up. Crazy Rich Asians and its two sequels in novel form are all on the New York Times top 10 bestseller list right now. So that's just amazing. So Kevin Kwan is really, I know he's suffering. I know he's really struggling. But if you might want to throw that guy some bucks, go and see the movie Crazy Rich Asians.
The movie gets rave reviews. It's something like on 93 or something on
It was
Rotten
a
Tomatoes.
delightful ensemble rom-com style thing. Love
Very
it.
charming. The stars are very charming, and it's really engaging. Even if you do have some questions about it, but I have questions about any rom-com that I see.
It's
and even
fluffy,
if you have
good fun.
Yes, and you can't take it too seriously because otherwise you'll get very upset about the amount of money these people are spending on just
On
completely, on every last little thing. But yeah, it's a really great movie, so it's worth seeing twice. Madison, what's going on in your neck of the woods besides all these geeky conventions and concerts?
Y'all, I have been working very hard on paperwork. So I have actually updated all of my recorded music to date. I have gotten it signed up for distribution, so it should be on Spotify. And so I'm catching up everything. So it should be on Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, instead of just Bandcamp, which is what I mostly do. So should be on streaming services soon. Right now I have like one song on it, and I was like, I've got to go ahead and put the rest up because people are asking, and I hope you stream it on Spotify so I can get that like 20th of a cent for every time you stream it. But it adds up and it makes a big difference. Plus it'll be fun to like add to playlists and stuff. So I'm super excited to like kind of catch up on stuff. So
cool. Steve, how about you, man?
You know, I remember that scene from It's a Wonderful Life, and his buddy calls and says, "Plastics, get in on the ground floor."
Oh, right. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So, bullet journal, get in on the ground floor.
Oh, no. Bullet journals are so 2 years ago, man.
I know. So I bumped into this.
Dude, where you been? Tumblr's been all over this.
Oh, really?
You old.
So, yeah, I am.
I'm never
old.
going to live that down. Cheapers.
I looked at it. I didn't fully. Something just doesn't click in my brain.
Explain to me what it is.
And the idea. So I put a link in the show notes. It's a pretty cool idea. Doesn't cost anything. You buy a notebook and a pen, and he kind of has this organized way of managing an agenda and to-do list and trackers and a journal for your daily activities and blah blah blah.
Yeah, taking notes and ideas that you have during the day. My wife and my oldest daughter are both very big with the bujos, as they're called.
Bujo, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I kind of forgot about it. I love working with paper. I'm still loath to carry this book everywhere with me. I mean, I've got a tablet and a smartphone, and come on. So I let it go. And then I Skype with my mom on Sundays. And so she's telling me she watches YouTube and likes the recommended next video. And sometimes it takes her down a weird conspiracy rabbit hole. But this time it took her down Bujo World, and it's a whole bunch of YouTubers talking about their bullet journals. And so she told me about it, got me re-interested in it. Anyway, so her complaint was what I wanted to share is hilarious. The purpose, it's a guy who made it the first version of the video, put it out there, and it was very utilitarian. It's like a black ink pen on a notebook paper. It's meant to be really quick and really efficient. Apparently, like, women crafters got a hold of this.
Yes.
And so, all of them are doing this crazy artwork and flowers, stamps and stickers.
Typography.
Exactly. They're doing this letter art at the top of the page.
Illuminated text, basically, is what I'm hearing.
Yes, that's exactly like monks doing illuminated text.
Yep.
And so she watched a bunch of these, and it even got on her nerves. And she is a crafter. She loves that stuff, but she's like, it was just one woman after another one about, like take 30 minutes to put the month at the top of the month page, because it has to be done with a special script in multiple colors with drop shadows.
Yes.
Anyways,
my daughter, who went to art school, spends hours every week laying out the pages of her bujo and putting just this hand-drawn typography on it. And, my wife is the same way, although she doesn't have quite as much artistic skill. She spends hours ruling the lines with a ruler, and then she'll slide it, and she's been using a gel pen, so it'll smear all the lines, and she'll freak the hell out. I'm just like, the calendar app on my phone does much the same thing as what you're doing here.
I've heard of weirder hobbies by kind of lot. So at least it's keeping our wives and sisters and daughters and
happy,
off
keeping them from getting into trouble. That's right.
Yeah,
the horror
them off cocaine by replacing
the horror is that they're posting photos of their journal pages on Pinterest.
Yes.
Oh no!
And
so
I'm just
then
like,
you can never measure up.
Or Instagram.
Oh, that's part of it, but it's like, I don't want anyone to see my personal journal.
If you follow @Killer of Sharpies on Instagram, you can see my daughter's bujo pages in exacting detail.
I mean, I guess I do take Instagram photos of like my food, so at least like the bullet journal, there's a little bit more personality to that in a lot of ways. So I can't knock it. I've Instagrammed much less interesting and more personal things. So
it's the personal aspect that would haunt me. Like 4:00 by ass cream or something. Like, I don't need the world to know that.
No, she posts the photos after she lays out the page, but before she puts in all the appointments.
Okay.
So it's just to say, look at how much more talented I am than you. Yeah.
I can respect that
I
kind
definitely
of
cannot compare.
condescension, honestly.
No,
so.
I have to confess, I have journals that started off of the bullet journal model, but quickly just disintegrated into forgetting all that stuff about and just became notebooks to write stuff in.
Yes. Yep.
I have multiple ones of no, the one with the pink glitter cover is the one where I do my to-do list, and the one with the red glitter cover is the one
That's
with my song.
right.
So then I just give up and consolidate everything to my Evernote or something, and it's a mess.
So I'll tell you, my current experiment is to try to do some of the same bullet journal ideas, but in an online outliner. I chose one called Dynalist. I really, really like. I believe it's 2 women developers. I could be wrong about that, but incredibly responsive. They roll out new features all the time, and it's just an outline. You have bullet points. It can have sub-bullets and sub-bullets.
I see check boxes.
Yep. You can turn any of them into a numbered list or into a checkbox list. You can, strike them off as if they were a to-do item, or jump in huge blocks of text as if, it was whatever you want it to be. But it's much, much simpler than like Google Docs or Evernote. And if you pay for the premium, it actually has some integration with Google Calendar, which is what I love. Yeah. So you can assign a task to item on the list, and the task will be picked up and added to your Google Calendar. And I'm like, so far, for a week, this is what I've been using as Steven's online bullet list. A bullet journal. Even though bullet journal is supposed to be physical pieces of paper, I cannot bring myself to do that.
Principles transcend boundaries, right?
Yes, and transcend media, perhaps.
Yeah.
All right, I may have a correction to the thing. You want to check out Brack Design, not Killer of Sharpies, if you want to see those journal pages. So, and it's mostly what she's showing is her typography. Is what she's showcasing. So, if you're curious about Bujo drawings, you can check it out at Brack Design on Instagram. So there you go. Like and follow.
Like, comment, subscribe.
Smash that subscribe
notification
button.
Bell.
That's right. All right. Well, next in our Bujo, the next action item is to get to the news.
And now for some more bad news. Ready?
All right, we got to talk barbecue, y'all.
All right.
So
that's a very North Carolina thing to do.
Yeah, and I know y'all both have North Carolina connections, right?
Sure.
So you understand what happens here. And you understand about the barbecue situation. There's Down East barbecue, which is the vinegar-based whole hog pulled pork sauce. There's
That's right.
The Lexington style ketchup-based barbecue sauce, smoked pork situation.
Sure,
and then there's that weird South Carolina mustard-based barbecue sauce thing, but whatever. More vinegar-based for me. But
I'm with you.
Yeah, Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters was cooking this weekend at his wife's newly opened eatery, and he was doing some pulled pork barbecue, and it was reportedly very, very well received. But the thing that I think is interesting is a quote from Dave Grohl in this article saying, "When Nirvana became popular, the first thing I did is bought a beach house in North Carolina and spent years up there. And I just ate pulled pork like effing crazy from the time I was 22 till about 25 years old." And I'm like, legit.
Yes.
If you eat meat at all, pulled pork barbecue is delicious.
Yeah,
that's why I love this story, man. Because you're thinking, well, he's just a promotional thing for himself or the restaurant. No, he was really in it, man. He was into it.
Yeah. I respect that kind of authenticity, right?
Yeah. There's a group out here in Cincinnati that is former Procter & Gamble employees from North Carolina who do a Carolina barbecue pig picking every September or October. And we get invited to that, and it's our one time a year that we get to just pile our plate with East Carolina barbecue, which is unlike what you consider barbecue anywhere else.
It's not a verb here. It's not a verb when people say, I'm going to barbecue something. No, barbecue is definitely a noun. It's not like most of the rest of the country you go to a barbecue. It's like, no. When you say barbecue, it's specifically almost all, especially in the eastern half of North Carolina, it means that whole hog, pulled pork, chopped pulled pork.
Pig picking. It's a
like
pig
off
picking.
a carcass, man.
Yep.
Still got the trotters on. Cracklins. Gotta get them cracklins.
Oh, it's so good. And then somebody always brings a banana pudding.
The banana pudding with the Nilla wafers and
Nilla wafers on the edge. Yep. And you got your coleslaw and you got your sweet tea and oh man, it's good.
So, bless my father-in-law Don. He has not one but 2 pig cookers. And he was gracious enough to cook 2 pigs for Richard and I for our wedding.
Ooh,
so we had 2 pigs, 2 kegs, and just like straight off the bone pulled pork. I mean, North Carolina grown hogs, which we have situations right now with the flooding and the hog lagoons because it's just it's a bad system. I acknowledge that, and there are a lot of problems with factory farming. But oh my God, pigs are delicious. And I feel really bad about it, but as long as I don't think too hard, I'm just like, yes, eat this pig.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, I highly recommend it. I mean, I like other kinds of barbecue too. Let's not say that we're saying this is the only way to eat pig. No. I like all kinds of ribs. I like all kinds of barbecue, but having lived, the early part of my adult life in Eastern Carolina, that Eastern Carolina barbecue is something else, man.
It's special. It's definitely a delightful way to eat pork off of a carcass.
Served to you by a rock musician.
Yeah, that's right.
I would love to eat Dave Grohl's pulled pork barbecue. That's not even like as a euphemism, like just straight up,
I saw somebody post that. He's like, dude, Dave Grohl just served me pulled pork. It was pretty good, I think. I
bet those California people are just losing it. They're probably like, God, this is so good or weird.
Yep.
So in some Netflix news, the trailer dropped for the new season of Daredevil. I believe this is season 3. And it looks darker, grittier. He seems to have ditched the costume, ditched the little helmet he had before at the end of season 2.
Wait, I'm sorry, you said cheesy. Grittier?
Wait. Yeah, exactly right. I got to wrap my head around this. Darker and grittier than the hallway fight in the first season, than the Kingpin smashing somebody's head in the door in the first season. Darker and grittier. Oh my God.
Yeah, because it shows like blood running down his face. He's putting on the old costume, which is just like this pullover knit thing over his eyes. And then the villain this season is again a Kingpin, played by Vincent D'Onofrio. Mm-hmm. And so, apparently, Kingpin gets out of prison, and he's once again, back in Hell's Kitchen, probably wants revenge.
Sure. Some payback. Well, yeah. I don't know. I mean, I liked Daredevil very much. I don't know if I can take it.
Yeah.
Frankly.
I'll give it a try. Yeah. And so the other Netflix news is, Mystery Science Theater 3000's new season is coming out, and apparently it's a tradition now. So it comes out on Thanksgiving Day. So it's this Thanksgiving you can begin streaming the new season.
Very cool.
So I got to say, I was a fan when I was younger, but I can't watch them now, and it's partly because, in my opinion, people are different. You have to watch it with somebody. The jokes are funny when you're sitting with somebody saying, "Oh man, that was awful."
Yeah, that
and then you
joy
laugh at
of
it.
Sharing it. Some things are better shared, right?
But just sitting in the living room all by yourself while these knuckleheads make sarcastic jokes isn't nearly as enjoyable.
Especially if you're not stoned.
Yeah. I feel like the way a lot of us experience stuff like that is with friends, right? Like a lot of the stuff that I found funny when I was in high school. So much of it, like Monty Python style stuff, which is still pretty funny, but it's funnier when you watch it with people, right?
With people,
because part of it is the experience, and I think there's something interesting. Maybe we can talk about this on There's a Problem with Your Face, like the nostalgia glasses and how that influences what we found funny and developed finding funny and still find funny versus something that's still funny or something that we might watch now that's funny, but because the circumstances are different, it's just not. It just doesn't have that same zing, even if it's still really funny. It's like watching a comedy special by yourself. Like, it's fun, and it can be interesting, but it's not nearly as funny as being with other people and laughing with other people and laughter is infectious, right?
100%.
Speaking of laughter, I still watch SNL pretty regularly, even when I don't think it's been quite as good. But my favorite person on SNL is Pete Davidson, he's young too. He's like 23 or 24 or something. But
where most of the cast is olds.
They're like 30. Oh no!
I know, right?
He was super young when he joined. I think he was still 20.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen him do live stand up when he was touring here too. I really like him. He just has like a very dry, goofy delivery. It's just nice. But that aside, so he actually met Ariana Grande, who's a young former Disney starlet and music star. And she's extremely talented. I don't really listen to her music because it's not my thing, but she's just a nice person, like a nice pop personality, whatever. But so they got engaged actually earlier this year, and Pete Davidson has actually been getting death threats because over Ariana Grande, his affianced, because they're like, you're taking her away from us, and he's like, man, somebody wants to shoot me in the face because she's so hot, But so it's just a weird situation where it's like somebody's
that is
getting
extremely weird.
Yeah, but you know what? He every time I see interviews with him where he talks about Ariana, he's like, I feel like I lucked out. I feel like I won. Like I feel like I can't believe this is my life, because he's on a big show, and he's just some schmo kind of, like he works hard, he's funny, but it's like, he plays himself off as like, I'm just a dude, and like one of the most attractive and talented women on the planet. Like, reportedly, she said when she met him on the SNL set, was like, I'm gonna marry him. And it was like, it's a little weird, but it was still kind of like, it's just nice because they're both young and cute together, and it's just a nice, like, poppy thing. But I'm like, nobody better be messing with my boy Pete,
Yeah.
And his dad, and he's like, I'm kind of a stan. We talked about this, a Stalker fan. Because, like, his dad, he was like 9 when his dad died because his dad was a 9/11 responder in New York. And like stuff like this. So it's like he's kind of grown up in the shadow of this, and he's and it's just like, my beautiful pure boy. Like, nobody better be messing with him. But it's so weird when people obsess over celebrities to the point where they, want to kill someone to impress Jodie Foster, like that kind of stuff. It's just a weird, celebrity's weird, man.
Well,
wall.
And as the thing that you have cited points out, that's been going on for way longer than the internet. Because the shooting somebody, that was John Hinckley you're talking about, shooting Ronald Reagan to impress Jodie Foster. And so that's way, way, way before the internet.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that the internet, of course, just makes it easier for people not only to creep out and stalk their favorite celebrity, but also to then express that in weird-ass ways in the world.
Twitter, Facebook.
Yeah, I mean, because those people may have wanted to shoot Pete Davidson in the face, but not have had a way to say it and no way to act on it.
Thank God for Twitter.
That's right. God bless Twitter. If it wasn't for them, how else would stalkers who don't want to leave their homes be able to make themselves heard?
Or worse, stalkers that want to leave their homes. That's the ones that don't want to leave their houses. It's like, I mean, you can kind of, but the ones that get out in public, that's where it's like, oh no.
Yeah. On the other hand, maybe it's letting them vent so that they just vent and then they don't actually go and do anything real.
But
I
man,
don't know.
It still makes it stressful as someone who's receiving that,
Yeah.
Like,
it's horrible.
Oh, no,
it's horrible all around. I don't want to minimize,
No.
what's going on, with the two of them, that they have to experience that. But I mean, unfortunately, that's the lot of really famous people today.
Yeah. Well, was it Mac Miller, Ariana Grande's? We talked about this, I think last week too. Like he died of a drug overdose or suicide, unfortunately,
Miller,
and that was her ex-boyfriend. So then a lot of people were blaming her for breaking his heart a year ago or 2 years ago, and it's like, it's just been, like I said, like I'm not like a huge like celebrity obsessed person, except apparently I am. So I'm not going to like downplay that, but I'm just like very involved in this. I'm like, no one's messing with my perfect golden children.
No, I personally am not celebrity obsessed, but I am celebrity apparel obsessed. And so I have to tell you that Indiana Jones's fedora sold for over $500,000 at auction recently. $500,000. And you know that whoever got it, if they try it on, they are going to look like a colossal douchebag. Yep. They're not going to look...
That's a display piece right there is what that is.
Yeah, they are not going to look like Indy himself because you have to be Harrison Ford to do that. But I don't know. I hope that they'll just put it on display or they'll preserve it, as a nice thing. But there are a whole lot of memorabilia that's gone up for sale. For instance, the bullwhip from Temple of Doom went for $73,000.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. Han Solo's Empire Strikes Back smuggler jacket did not meet its reserve. So it did not get the $500,000 people were thinking that it was going to earn. And then a Stormtrooper helmet from the original movie only went for $65,000. And boy, does it look like... And boy, does it look like crap, too, let me tell you. So...
Did it break you? It looked so bad. It is broken, Jeb.
Yes, it is. It totally pulled my lungs out. So anyway, I don't know. Is there a piece of movie memorabilia that you would really like to have? Is there? I mean, not necessarily that you would shell out $500,000 for it, of course, but
if money were no object.
Yeah.
Oh man, if money were
I'd like a James Bond Aston Martin, as long as we're.
Yeah.
I said that for years as a kid, that exact car.
Yeah.
There was a snow globe in A Royal Christmas, which is a Hallmark movie starring Jane Seymour.
You could probably get that for $500 or
if
less.
It even exists anymore.
Yeah, that's right. If it wasn't destroyed.
If I could get my hands on that, listen. If anyone's listening who can get me the snow globe from A Royal Christmas starring Jane Seymour and Lacey Chabert and the hot dude. I would probably legitimately right now out of pocket, I bet I would pay at least $150 for that.
There you go. Somebody has a fortune to be made right there.
Yeah. There's some props from, remember Real Genius?
Oh yeah, Val Kilmer?
Yeah. There's some props from there I'd love to get. To be practical, I would get a James Bond watch. The one that he actually wore, one of the many that he's actually worn.
Oh, sure, uh-huh.
That one you could actually take out and wear and show people.
Oh, sure, yeah, it would have that slick kind of...
But I'm telling you, the thing I lusted after, and I saw it recently on cable, was, you ever see The Man with the Golden Gun?
Uh-huh.
And he's got that solar-powered laser, and he uses it to zap the airplane. I want that entire set, that whole room with that control panel. I kept looking at it like, who designed this? That's got to be some piece of equipment I just don't recognize. If they've just bolted down, they've relabeled some of the switches. Like,
I could sleep in that room, man.
Yes, it is so like a 70s tech. I just love it. It has to have a really thick AT&T phone on the desk or something, and then complete the whole look.
Oh man! So here's another one. We didn't really put this in memoriam because it's not somebody dying, but it is the end of an era. Did you guys ever read the ElfQuest comics?
I think a couple times. Not really a big.
Yeah, I actually subscribed to it back in the '80s and read a lot of the collections. It was by Richard and Wendy Peeney. And was begun in 1978 and has run continuously since then, and it is going to end this year on a farewell tour called 40 Years of Pointed Ears.
That is nuts.
Yeah. And so it is, it's the story of these nomadic elves who are on a quest to find their ancient homeland and discover who they were, and they had telepathy that they could communicate with each other and stuff like that, and it had the characters were all very buff, were very, voluptuous, and so it had some serious 70s style to it, but there were actually some really good stories in it, so, you kind of make fun of it a little bit, but it was a pretty good comic. And one of the unusual things was that Wendy Peeney was the artist on this, that she created all these characters and did all the artwork and stuff, which was very unusual for comics starting in the 70s. So maybe, if you haven't checked it out, this is the time to do it, because now you know that there's going to be an ending. Yeah. you just got to get through 40 years of comics. It's not going to be a Game of Thrones on you, you know?
I know, I'm terrified that something's going to happen to George R.R. Martin before the books are done. Like, he's going to pull a Robert Jordan. It's like, I still hear about the Robert Jordan situation from my husband, whom I love. And it's just like, every once in a while, it's just like, I see the bitterness boil up. Like, I invested so... No, he doesn't say it like that. He's like, I invested so much time in this.
That's the Wheel of Time series, am I right?
The Wheel of Time situation. I can't do a good Richard impression, but maybe someday I can convince him to come on the podcast for like just a couple minutes and just share these very specific and intense feelings. But so I think it's really cool when old stuff is kind of new again, or like it's coming to an end, and you can see where we've been and where we're going. And so in that sense, I'm very interested in this vampire ant situation.
I'm sorry. I'm going to have to call for a judge's ruling. Vampire ants. Yeah. You're going to have to explain.
I'm ready. So scientists, entomological archaeologists have discovered a 98 million year old amber specimen from out of Myanmar that has a new species of ant with a spiky metallic mouth. It has like chips of like metal that are present on the mandibles, which it used.
This does not sound like a new species if it's 98 million years old.
Just
this is a very, very old
new,
species.
New to us, to pierce and suck victims' blood and life fluids. This is crazy. So it's a prehistoric ant, and they've dubbed it Lingua myrmex vladi. Very vampiric. So it's actually a stem group of ants that they're referring to as hell ants, which actually is an extinct branch of it that kind of went by the wayside before our current what we see as current ants. And you can
our wimpy modern ants.
Yeah. And they've determined that by basically shapes of the jaws and the mandibles. But yeah, the cool thing is that basically they're, I just want to say, listen, sparkly vampire ants, and I am a Twilight fan, and I feel vindicated and justified. So Twilight is and I love this article too, because they have some quotes from E.O. Wilson, who's the ant guy, and I actually got to see him speak a few times while I was in college, because I was a biology student, but it was just but I'm finally, justification. Stephanie Meyer knew what was up. So really, all of Twilight is an allegory for ant archaeology.
Oh, I see.
That's my
conspiracy.
I love conspiracy
Now it
theories.
all makes sense.
I love conspiracy theories, and that's going to be my new one. I'm still workshopping it, but I think this can go places.
When I saw the article and some of the pictures of this ant captured in amber, I was just again, tabletop role players, take a clue. It's got these giant mandibles and this paddle on top, and it would snap shut and trapping its victim, and then a proboscis would shoot out of its mouth, pierce them, and then it would suck up their blood. I went, come on! This is like something out of a horror movie. And the metallic particles just make it even more, just more
horrifying.
Of everything.
That's right.
It's a very extra ant. It's very extra.
Awesome. Well, tell me, do we have any new trailers that came out this week that we can trash or not?
This will make for one epic trailer.
X-Men, Dark Phoenix. Not regular Phoenix, Dark Phoenix.
Oh, it's so much tastier than just plain old milk Phoenix. Dark
so
Phoenix
this movie was made
better.
before Disney reacquired the rights to X-Men. It was made when they were still owned by whoever. I forgot. Fox. Okay.
Sony.
And
Fox.
So it's got the same cast as X-Men Apocalypse. So James McAvoy, Jessica Chastain, Jennifer Lawrence, whatever. And a lot of people were dreading it. They're like, this company does not do well with the X-Men. They've radically changed the Dark Phoenix story. They completely changed what the cause of it is. Again, like movies, they rush it. Like the whole Dark Phoenix saga took years. And they always like jam it in movie 1, movie 2, you're done. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a valid complaint sometimes. But, I mean, looking at the trailer, it just looks like another X-Men movie to me.
It looks like a snooze fest is what it looks like. It looks like, oh no, Jean is evil now, or Jean has a darkness in her. We have to help Jean.
Didn't they do that in the original X-Men trilogy?
They're just rehashing.
Okay, and was that based on the Dark Phoenix?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's a good... Dark Phoenix Saga is one of the most famous stories in comics for people who kind of know, like, even people that aren't, like, huge, like comics readers. I feel like people in my generation particularly know about the Dark Phoenix Saga, not from the comics when they originally ran, but from the 90s X-Men animated series.
Yep,
that
Dark was pretty
Phoenix
good.
Saga in that, was actually like, and like that whole series, it doesn't stand up, but it's actually a pretty good representation of the comic. So for me, when I was like the comic-y age, like a very, like the impressionable comic-y age, not a like connoisseur of comic age, when I'm like 10, right? Or like 8, watching like the animated X-Men. So like that was my first experience with it before I went back as an adult and read the Dark Phoenix Saga highlights, kind of like in the comics. And so, like, it's a story that was familiar to me and to a lot of people that aren't even specifically nerdy, but a lot of people watch that, like, Fox Saturday morning animation block with the X-Men, right? In like, the 35 and under crowd. But anyway, this trailer looks like a snooze fest. It's just a lot of pictures of people's faces looking concerned. The coolest thing about the Dark Phoenix Saga...
Why don't they smile? Why don't they smile? They need to be having fun.
The coolest thing about the Dark Phoenix Saga is, like, the giant flaming bird avatar thing.
The whole thing is...
Yeah, and it's like, well, then what's the effing
Comic Book Girl
point,
19
right?
did this whole video documentary about the history of the X-Men. And she spent a whole chunk of time on Phoenix and Dark Phoenix, because that's one of her favorite characters. Mm-hmm. And she explains why the first set of X-Men movies did it so wrong. And it looks like they're just going to repeat that. And not to be pedantic, but it's not her. It was never that her mind is so powerful. It was this entity, this Phoenix entity, spirit entity out in the universe, possesses her, comes into her body, and it's specifically explained in the comics how and when. And that's what's... Yeah.
Well, and it's retconned different situation, but it's like basically a demonic possession, even though it doesn't start out that way.
It always corrupts. Yeah, I don't think it itself is moral or amoral or anything. It exists. But it always, whenever it incarnates into a mortal, eventually becomes corrupted, and they said that it ends up causing suns to supernova. So the eventual risk, if you do not control this thing, is that she goes full-on bad guy, supernovas the sun, wipes out all life on Earth, and moves on. But again, none of that can be in the movie, because in the movie they get rid of that whole cosmic spirit, and she's a powerful telepath.
It just seems like Jean is like, oh, Jean's having problems controlling her powers. Like, it takes away all of the interest to that was that it was like something that was specifically out of her control, whether or not it was like, and it was expressed as like a thing that was inhabiting her, and then later it was like retconned as a thing that like copied her, and like it wasn't actually her. But that's immaterial, right? To the gist of it is that like all the cool parts that I identified with as a young person with the Phoenix Saga, they just kind of got rid of that, and it's just like, oh, there goes Jean again. Yep, and not like, I don't know, like, I don't want to see a dark story about how this girl has always had trouble controlling her powers, and these men have always tried to, like, quote unquote, like in the thing, in the trailer, they call it stabilizing her. Like, oh, these people are, like, controlling her, and she's never really been in control of herself, blah, blah, blah. Like, the whole thing that was so interesting about the Dark Phoenix stuff was that Jean was a fairly controlled, self-actualized person who then had these other things. Like, it just seems less interesting. It just, like, I didn't even see X-Men Apocalypse, and I love X-Men. Like, I've read a lot of X-Men in my day. I haven't been reading the last few years, because it's like, I kind of lost track of a lot of the stuff I was following after the Secret Wars stuff, because it was just like, another crossover.
Yeah.
And we've talked about that some too, right? But anyway, that's how
I agree.
Apparently I have very strong opinions.
So some
about
people
this.
didn't think that the movie would be released. They honestly said, they have a terrible track record. It's already, belongs to, or it's been merged in with Disney. Will they even bother to release it? Anyway, but if they spent the money and it's sitting there, then obviously you want to get some of that investment back. And there's an upside. Like, Evan Peters plays Quicksilver, and his scenes in the previous ones were fantastic. But they're bizarre because they have nothing to do with the rest of the story. Like, he's usually used as in one scene, he doesn't appear again. It's an awesome scene where he does some, super speedster stuff to a cool soundtrack. But anyway, so that'd be fun to watch, whatever they cook up for his scene in this movie. Jennifer Lawrence is in it again, but I've been told that she hates these movies. That now that she's a great big star, she wants to go on and do other things and not keep on doing the whole blue body paint with prosthetics glued onto her boobs.
Yeah, but I bet she likes upholding contracts.
Yeah, she has to go to the contract.
So
on the other hand, they started doing the makeup effects less and less. In this movie, at least the trailer, I don't think she was in blue even once during the trailer.
No, she was in it a couple
was
times
she? Okay,
in
I
the
missed
trailer,
that.
I noticed, because I was looking for
So that would be my other one, that the compromise is, they only do her from the neck up, they don't have to do, because she's wearing a uniform or something, or they have whole scenes where she's just,
not doing that full
looks like Jennifer
thing.
Lawrence, doesn't look like a blue, the Mystique. So, whatever. The trailer for me looked better than I expected. But, we'll see.
I'll probably go see this just because I like that storyline.
Yeah. Well, that's a movie yet to come. Hey, Jeb, do you have anything about a movies that once was?
This is your review? Well, you're late.
Well, friend of the podcast, Matt Johnson, has been catching up with our back catalog, and he noted that we have I have visited westerns in the past, including our infamous Bone Tomahawk, and he suggested, well, why not go back to some of the some classic westerns? And for classic westerns, what he actually means is 1985's Silverado. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but I saw it when it came out, and I have watched it many times.
1985.
and have you watched this western? Because it is full of is full of stars who were stars when you were born. Kevin Kline, Danny Glover, Scott Glenn, Kevin Costner. They're the main leads, and then you have supporting turns by John Cleese and Brian Dennehy and Jeff Goldblum and the crystal blue-eyed Jeff Fahey, who, where the hell did he go? I don't know. But anyway, this is a western from the 1980s, written and directed by a couple of Jewish guys who loved westerns as kids, but it brings in every western trope ever besides Native Americans. It brings in everything, gunfights in the land office, and the ambushes, and the cattlemen versus the
farmers,
sodbusters. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it does it really, really well. I mean, it's a really good movie.
I loved this movie when it came out. I'm pretty sure I saw it in the theater more than once. Then it's been on TV for years and years.
Yeah.
Kevin Costner was very young. It was one of his first really big, giant roles.
Yeah, it's terrific.
And a lot of people say this movie restarted the Western genre. It had been dead for decades, and it's kind of rebooted the whole thing in the popular imagination.
I think it did. Yeah. Yeah, I think that movies like Pale Rider and Unforgiven owe their ability to even be made to Silverado, because those movies went on and kind of changed. This took the classic Western and updated it and made it, a modern movie, and then you were able to then deconstruct it for something like Unforgiven, which another classic that you really ought to see if you haven't seen it. But this one's just one of those thrill ride movies with everything there ever was in a Western, But without the problematic Native Americans, and
yeah.
do we get real Native American actors? How then do we portray them? What tribe are they in? Oh, never mind. They're already off the land. Let's just have
but
cowboys
that was
other.
one of the complaints about the older movies, that the audiences didn't want to tolerate that when they're again doing natives are called savages and they scalp the white settlers and steal the women or whatever. So people are like, I don't want to watch that crap.
Sure.
That was fine for my grandfather, but not for me.
No.
And so Hollywood's like, well, then I don't know how to tell the story. Those are the classic trope. Then Silverado comes along and says, we can do it without that.
That's right. So it was. It's a terrific movie. If you haven't seen Silverado, it's on. It's streaming, I think, on Amazon Prime right now.
Okay.
If not Netflix. And if you have seen it, go watch it again because you'll remember how great it is. So there you go.
It's fun. It was a big fun movie, man.
Yes, indeed. And John Cleese as the sheriff is tremendously great. So there you go. That's it. Any budget bin games, Madison?
Big fun.
Small price.
All right, I have a cute one. It's called Genius Greedy Mouse, and it's like a puzzle maze game. But the real star of this game is the claymation style art.
That's cool.
All of the art and animation. Oh, it's precious. So all the textures are very much like hand squished clay, and you can see thumbprints in the textures. And it's just some stuff on it. It's about $5 on Steam and Android. It was developed by Space Fractal and Temple Tiger in 2016. And again, it's a puzzle style game, so you go through increasingly difficult puzzle solved or maze style levels. And it has cute little mechanics, like there's some little bombs or little bullet bill type things or balls to roll around. But again, the cutest thing, and you're a little pink mouse, you're a little pink clay mouse, and it has a cute animation cycle, and you scurry through these mazes and eat cheese to get to be a little fatty mouse. And it's definitely a recommend. It's not my particular jam, but it was just, if you like kinds of puzzle games, it's good for all ages, and it scales up in complexity. But mostly it was just really pleasant. My one main complaint was that I wish that the soundtrack was more prominent. It has this delightful acoustic guitar and whistle soundtrack, it has a very, the whole game has a very DIY kind of feel, to kind of go with the art style, which I think is really, really nice. And the sound design is actually, other than the music, is really nice, because, everything has good weight to it. So, when the balls drop or roll, it has a nice, squish, kind of a heavy squish feeling, like the way when you drop Play-Doh and it lands but it doesn't bounce. It was just really cute. I recorded about 8 or 9 minutes of playing through the first couple levels, and that is on YouTube. We'll probably put a link in the show notes. But it's called Genius Greedy Mouse. It was just nice. It was just a nice little game. I played. I don't always play them much after I record a little video where I play them for an hour to kind of test them out. But I played this actually for a couple hours because it was just mostly just because I like the art style so much. So if you like that kind of,
that's what I was gonna say. The art looks fantastic. It looks like something a kid would have made with stop motion camera in his bedroom and little characters and
yes, exactly like that. I mean, it's just, if you like that kind of art style at all, it's probably worth the $5 to play it for a few hours, so.
There you go. Steve, do you have any cute claymation anime that you're watching by any chance?
Steve はとってもくだらない人でアニメを見るんです。What weird anime is Steve watching this week?
Not claymation, but definitely cute. It's called Witchcraft Works, and I'll give you the commentary in a minute. But it starts by subverting some of your expectations. It's this, the average boy in school, and the prettiest girl in school, who's also the smartest and the most physically fit. So she aces all of her PE stuff. sits right next to him on the bus, and sits right next to him in class. And so all of his classmates hate him because they want her attention. And he's like next to her, he's completely ignored. Nobody wants to give him the time of day because they're focused on her. And then it's revealed that somebody attacks him with these giant mechanical bunnies. And she comes to his rescue. She's a super powerful flame mage. And the effects in the first episode are fantastic. The way they have her wreathed in flame. Really, really cool. And she refers to him as my princess. I'm here to rescue you, my princess. And he's like, wait, what? And so one of the reveals later on is that somehow he embodies the spirit or something of this magical princess, who he can call. She's been bound up. I don't know the whole thing, but she's been bound by these 7 binding spells inside of him because it's too dangerous to let her out. And I don't know if she's like an elfin princess or whatever it is. She's ancient, extremely powerful. And so they have to try to keep him alive, and she's his bodyguard. Very cute. I really enjoyed it. It's goofy, and but the witches have the giant hats and robes, and they explain, well, if you wear that, it allows you to fly, and whatever, super stylistic. But they have these moments of absolute humor that knocked me off the couch. I'm watching it. It's like in the very first episode, she reveals that there's this whole magical world, that she's a witch, that she can control flame, that there's someone trying to kill him with this giant army of mechanical bunny rabbits. And she's blasting them all, and then she saves him, and she's trying to get him back home. And he says, wow, girls are mysterious. Like, this is just the way girls are. And there's another scene like that, many episodes later, I don't know, 8 or 9 episodes later, in which, she's petrified. He has to somehow give her the magical power in himself to break the petrification curse. And they're telling him you have to kiss her. But of course, because this is a stupid Japanese anime, he can't do it on the lips. And so the most he can bring himself to do without blushing is kissing her on the cheek. And then she glows super, super brightly as she absorbs his power, and she's able to break out of the curse and defeat the bad guy. And then later on that episode, as it ends, he goes, I didn't know girls could glow like that. And it's like those 2 moments, I was laughing out loud. I thought it was the funniest, because it was so weirdly offhand that it's like this is just his impression. Like, this is just the way girls are. But it's enjoyable. I think it was only 12 episodes, really cute stuff, and it's worth a relaxing, low stress, low drama show with really crazy ideas. One witch has the power to generate these giant stuffed teddy bear, and she has her teddy bear fight the giant mechanical rabbit in the city streets, and they're like giant mecha or something, each with a little girl witch on the top on their head that's controlling them. But it is so cute and over the top. It's worth watching. It's Witchcraft Works.
That sounds very much up my alley.
Very much indeed. Well, if this has been up your alley, then you should follow this alley to the end, where there is a kind of a dead-end air shaft where all the trash and detritus from the rest of the episode goes, and that's called There's a Problem with Your Face. See, so follow us down the alley to that air shaft now, because we're about to head over to there and discuss some of the stuff that didn't make it into this episode. Steve, where can they find that? AITRpodcast.com. There's show notes for every episode. You can you can listen to it right from the website. Links to the media that we mentioned, a link to the video game that Madison reviews, and of course our social media like Twitter, Facebook, and Patreon, where for as little as $1 a month, you get twice the content and a whole lot more deranged swearing. Exactly
deranged
right.
Swearing, not just regular swearing here. We're talking deranged.
Deranged swearing, where we say words like and
beep and beep.
But until we see you over there, I'm Jeb Brack.
I'm Madison Matricula Robert.
And this was Tech Guy Steve.
We'll talk to you later.